my school days, Monday morning, very often, school holidays, I'd go with my father buying leather. And of those days, they'd done away with the horse mill and they had an engine, a paraffin engine it would be. And I had strict instructions, keep away from this engine. And there was a big wooden barrel, and the tanner scraped the back of the hides, what we call fleshing now, cleaning the backs off, took the grease out, and all the grease out of the hide went into this tub, and that was dubbing. And my job, we'd have what we would call a paint can now, a can with a wire handle on, to fill with dubbing, with a trowel out of this barrel. And my father had said to me, "Don't get any on your jersey." I can hear him now. "Don't get any on your jersey now." Just slapping this grease into this tin can. Now then, that was just what came out of the hides. And always in the workshop we had this tin with dubbing in, and all the work boots, clogs and so forth, which never got any treatment at home. If they'd been repaired, they'd have a good brush round with an out shaving brush with dubbing out of this can. And what we were doing, we were putting back the grease into the leather, which had dried out, washed out. The grease the good Lord put into the hide in the first place. Can't do better than that. And now you get a little tin, and it costs about £2. And they used to put it in a shovelfuls. These big houses were built, wealthy families, business people, that came to live around here. They all had their own stables, their horses, carriages, and their own staff. Now then, Titus Nelson specialised in livery boots, livery being the dress of the coachman, the driver. And so this is what they made, what he was really wanting to specialise in. A coachman's boot, what they call a livery boot. And they were recognised, the different households, by the colour of the top band. Different colours, and you'd see a carriage go and you looked at the driver, look at his top band, and you knew who they were. This is the only bit of local leather I can show you, which is a clog with leather that's standing settle, and that's could be 80, 90 years old. Of course, when it was new, it would be as supple as this is, but it's got very hard because it's old. But that's settled tanned leather on a clog. Might I say, at that period, a clogger made clogs. It made the soles, it closed the uppers, he made clogs. He didn't make any boots and shoes. A shoemaker didn't make clogs. In the same way, there were saddlers would stitch horse leathers, saddles, bridles, whatsoever. But if somebody came in with his boot wanting it stitching, he said, say, take it to shoemakers. But not now. We stitch anything. be it travel cases, motorcycle leathers, harness, although there are 2 girls in the area now that have set up repairing harness, making harness. A lot of their work is in New Zealand rugs and such like. But one comes sometimes with a bit of leather that's a bit thicker than she wants to stitch. But that's how it used to be. People kept strictly to their own trades. Let me tell you a story which illustrates what life was in those days of 1847. The family across the road then were called Robinson, and a carriage and pair went up the street, and Mrs. Robinson said to the coachman, "Who was that lady and 2 children who we passed?" So the driver said that was Mrs. Nelson, the new shoemaker's wife. So Mrs. Robinson said, "When we get back, you go to the Nelson and say it's customary when Mrs. Robinson goes up the street that people acknowledges Mrs. Robinson." Mrs. Robinson paid his wage, and he did as he was told. He came and delivered his message, and it's Titus' great-grandfather that spoke to. He listened courteously, and then he says, "Well, you go back to Mrs. Robinson and tell her that my wife or I or any of my family bow down to anyone other than their maker." And that was a man looking for business, making livery boots amongst the gentry of the area. I think I might start that. And my father would say to me, "Don't get any on your jersey." I can hear him now. "Don't get any on your jersey now."